Oh, hi, Internet. Welcome back to After Credits. We just got out of the Disaster Artist. Quiet! You're ruining my movie! The new movie by James Franco about Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, two friends who go out to LA to make a big Hollywood movie. And they can't break into the mainstream, so they decide to make their own movie, The Room, and this movie is about the story of that.
Full disclosure, the book that this is based on, written by Greg Sestero, who's played by Dave Franco in the movie, I've read cover to cover like 5 or 6 times. If you have not read it, it's like one of the most interesting things I've ever read. Like, this movie gets a lot of it, but there's so much in there that's just crazy about this weird relationship these two had. But
You haven't seen The Room, the actual
I've not
movie.
seen The Room.
Okay,
No.
and Brittany Daniel, call me by your name, and Banyad, we went and, what's it called?
You should
we saw it
stop with the accent before, like, anything.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
So, Brittany, Daniel, and Barnyard went to see The Room. We didn't went to...
Take 3.
Brittany, Daniel, and me.
it's a real Hollywood movie.
Damn it.
Do you need a water bottle or something?
And cut.
Brittany, Barnyard, and I saw The Room for viewer's choice.
You're lying. I never hit you. You're tearing me apart.
I don't know about her now, but it's one of my favorite movies ever, because it's just it is the most amazing thing to ever exist. It's a movie that defies every understanding of movie except for a camera and movement. It's, by mainstream definitions, not a good movie, but it is the most entertaining movie you'll ever see in your entire life, purely because of the enigma that is Tommy Wiseau.
I
Wizzle.
love The Room. It's probably one of the movies I've watched the most, and it's weird because there's so many movies that are better than The Room that I can't watch more than once.
Right.
It's so interesting, and like there's just so many like all-time great scenes. Like the flower shop scene is a masterpiece.
Oh, hi,
in how
doggy.
not to make a scene.
It's
like it.
yes.
The deeper you go in, the more you understand that nobody making this movie had any idea what the fuck they were doing.
Tommy Wiseau is like the Lou Bloom of people. It's like he's made up of everything that he loves. You can kind of see all the pieces that make up that kind of character, but you'll never really hit the character. You don't know where something went different than what we could possibly expect. We don't know where that spark of lightning or madness comes from. I feel like Tommy Wiseau's the same way. He's a familiar product. Definitely like the American dream and sort of this ideals of glamour and truth and acting, and then there's like a lightning spark or a bit of antimatter that just
Chemical X.
yes,
Chemical X.
that just makes him the Wiseau.
Best anybody has ever done to recreate it is James Franco trying to recreate it.
It's
he did
weird.
a great job.
No,
You don't think he did a good job mimicking him?
No, he has to be the contrarian.
his comedy just wasn't funny.
No, I was laughing a lot.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
very awkward
That's The
comedy.
Room.
Yeah, that's just The Room.
The Room is really awkward and ridiculous. I laughed a lot during this movie.
I did.
Just because of his mannerisms, because he doesn't like look exactly like Tommy Wiseau, which is fine because biopics rarely look like exactly like the people. But I feel like he captured the essence of Tommy Wiseau. Like that opening scene when he's performing in the play, that is Tommy Wiseau. He just fucking goes for it. He in the middle of a restaurant, you know. This guy doesn't care what people think of him, but he secretly does. And there's so many contradictions about him. And I think James Franco did a fantastic job. Like he just sell the like obsessive nature of this dude and how like egotistical he can be and how combative he can be. I hope he does get an Oscar nomination for this. He's great.
No,
And that's
just no. There is never a moment where James Franco became an actual character in this. All it is just this face value mimic impression. There's nothing here that leaps off the screen as Tommy Wiseau. The only few times I caught a glimpse of it is when he's doing the that bit is the best that he ever gets. But the rest of it is just James Franco trying to do this caricature of this guy. And there's a difference between someone that's trying to be funny and someone that is exactly who they are, and the comedy just comes from them. I think that's kind of the problem inherent with a movie about this, but especially with James Franco's performance, because it never feels like Wiseau is an actual guy. It feels like he's always the butt of a joke. He isn't trying to be this actual guy. He's trying to be the Wiseau, the character that everybody knows. And it's something that maybe you just can't get it because of the nature of this performance and who this person is.
Can you ever turn a horse into a unicorn?
For a movie that's trying to get so far to the truth, it can't escape the legend of Tommy Wiseau. So when it's trying to be serious, it doesn't work because the movie's goofy. But even when it's trying to be funny, all it's got is this character that's not quite the impression, because that's not the reason we like Tommy Wiseau. The only way you could really make this work is a documentary. It's a documentary, like a making of documentary, like honestly, like Jim and Andy.
Or like the behind the scenes he was filming throughout the entire movie.
That's what Jim and Andy was. It was just behind the scenes footage with Jim Carrey talking about it. And if Tommy Wiseau were just left to his own devices to talk about the behind the scenes, and you just saw the behind the scenes for what it is, then that I think would more accurately represent the whole Disaster Artist, the book, rather than this, which just feels like fan fiction.
The fantastic part is how spot on some of their recreations of these scenes were at the end.
Yeah.
At some points they're saying the exact same thing at the exact same time, and it just blends in together.
What does this movie mean for y'all? Like, what did y'all grab out of this?
Follow your dreams.
Everything you know about Tommy comes from the perspective of Greg. So you're never going to get a full grasp on this dude, because nobody has a full grasp on this dude.
I don't even think he has a full grasp.
Yeah, he doesn't
on
even have a
himself.
full grasp on himself, because he's fucking insane. He gives a horrible performance, and he makes a terrible movie, but somehow more interesting than anything that anybody's ever made. And I think they did a great job at showing why The Room matters to people. I worked on a few like smaller movie sets. That's kind of the nature of what it's like on there when it's so combative. Zac Efron shows up for one scene and is fucking hilarious. He's just so intense.
Mm-hmm.
And like it captures all of the great jokes from The Room and all the inconsistencies from The Room. Like Denny just is such an enigma of a character that nobody knows why he's in the fucking movie. And even though this guy's like in his late 20s, they call him a little boy. Josh Hutcherson, who's like a 30-year-old man, is pretending to be like a small child. Like, that's so funny. And the movie captured why that was so funny by like everybody's like, why the fuck is he like, this guy's like 30? As somebody who has read the book, it was really accurate in a lot of the details, like the stuff that he names Greg after the character of Mark after Mark Damon, because he didn't know Matt Damon's real name because he's a fucking lunatic. The friendship, I think, was my favorite part of the movie, and maybe it worked because Dave Franco and James Franco were brothers in real life. The movie is so goofy, but that part felt genuine to me, that, you know, these guys both had a dream and then they worked on it together, and, you know, clearly it didn't work for you, but I think it worked incredibly well.
This movie makes me want to watch The Room now. Like, I've wanted to watch The Room before, but now I'm like,
and here's the
I
thing,
need to watch it
I
now.
think that if you have seen The Room, there's so many great, you know, stories in here about, you know, certain things in The Room and why they work. But even if you don't like The Room, or if you've never seen The Room, at the end of the day, this isn't just a great story about two guys who just want to make a movie and the whole world is against them. And I give this 5.5 out of 6. This is one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. You could probably watch it again. I think it was really funny, really charming. If you're a fan of The Room, or if you just love great stories, I definitely recommend it.
There was really nothing special about it, except that it was a cult classic on top of a cult classic. I feel like that's what it's going to become. I don't really care either way. I'd give it a plain old 3.
I wasn't as hyped as Liam. Liam loves and was waiting for this movie. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 6.
It made me feel wholesome, though. I'd like to add.
You said the word
You
wholesome,
froze
and then
up.
the image of James Franco's ass just appeared in my brain. And that really,
That's
weirded
why I
me
didn't
out.
give it 6 because that's
Yeah,
Solely because
that
That's
they
an
made
image.
James Franco's
With
ass
this
look
fucking, like,
so
Cock
bad.
holster, that was.
Ew.
Yeah, he had
Banana
a
hammock.
he had a
Uh,
bag.
It was a heartwarming story. I just.
That part was not heartwarming.
That
Maybe
warmed
for some
something
people.
else. Jim and Andy, I say it because I think it nailed what this movie is trying to do. It's trying to showcase this portrayal of this complete and utter enigma, and I think that movie understands. Jim Carrey wasn't trying to be Andy Kaufman, and Jim Carrey was trying to. He was looking at Andy Kaufman through his lens, so he was portraying it in that way, and that's fine on his area. He saw Kaufman as just this guy who is like free and lets himself be and ignores the pressures of the world, and that's what ultimately Carrey wanted out of his career. And so you can see Andy Kaufman as like the pinnacle of this. So he's doing the impression purely out of love, whereas this movie, I honestly felt like at the end of the day, Tommy Wiseau is still the joke. This movie can't really go full-fledged serious with it. It just doesn't. It wants to have its cake of, oh, look at this funny guy that does these weird jokes, but they also want to treat that friendship seriously and really develop it. And just those two will never ever clash. Either James Franco has to do a better impression, we have to get the real Tommy in here, or, I don't know, just don't do it. 1.5, man, this thing just bored and annoyed me. If you like this, go ahead and click the like button down below. Next to it, subscribe button. Got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for social media. Put your comments. Do what you want. Next time, we're going to see what Darkest Hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to see Darkest Hour with another biopic, real life Oscar buzzing performance. Yeah, okay, that's just no.